I hope everybody's doing well, working from home probably, as I am here in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, technically Orleans, Ontario, Canada, where it was snowing a minute ago, but skies have turned back blue. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I was toying with the idea of having a headset for this, but it kind of looked ridiculous and sound seems to be fine. But if it's not, feel free to chat in, let me know. We've got a good pile of attendees in. This was actually quite a popular topic that we wanted to pull together based on working with our customers specifically and very, very closely over the last month or so of sort of social distancing, quarantine, limited operations for restaurants and retailers. Today's, topics of presentations are going to be about keeping employees safe, and I think it's very relevant in obviously the food industry, right? From quick service restaurants, fast casual, and of course full service restaurants that are continuing to operate even in limited capacity. So we're going to go through some slides to talk about some of the areas that we've been identifying. It's really concise, and then we'll show you, how our customers are dealing with remote management of their environments, dealing with new, protocols and practices around health and safety, and we'll make room for questions at the end. I'm gonna take myself off the screen, or at least minimize myself off the screen and share my entire desktop here. I'm just gonna look for Kelsey, who's my co-host here, to notify me in some way that you can see the screen okay. How's it looking, Kelsey? I'll take the chat as a thumbs up, and very good. So appreciate the patience there, folks. So again, there's still people trickling in. So again, my name is Jim Farrell. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Partnerships here at Solink, working predominantly with our SMB and mid-market customers and franchise space, generally in the restaurant space. We work with lots of different retailers as well. As a company, I'll introduce Solink a little bit at the start, but I'll go into a little bit more detail as we go through, because some of you are familiar with us and our customers looking to, gain some best practices here, and others are net new to Solink. As a company, we're a software company that integrates video surveillance with point of sale and other data components that allow you to maximize profits and improve operations from an efficiency perspective. We do this using, software that is very compatible with existing camera systems, as well as, of course, point of sale, alarm, access control, and other systems that produce a data event. Today, our topic is about keeping your employees safe. It's obviously always been a topic of concern, and I think in certain industries, there's a lot of need to just generally think through keeping employees safe and frankly happy, because it's a hard environment to hire, train, and then retain in. But what can remote surveillance do for you in this kind of new world, in sort of the pandemic world that we live in, where we're trying to operate, trying to serve the public, and need to ensure that throughout that process, the most important thing is keeping our staff safe so that operations can continue, but also so that they become part of the solution to social distancing and all that stuff while still serving the public. Again, my name is Jim Farrell. We're going to go through some housekeeping notes. It'll be real quick. It's going to be 30 minutes in length. We will record and distribute this. At the bottom of your Zoom, which hopefully more and more people are familiar with Zoom, but if you haven't been on a webinar yet, there's a Q&A component there where you can ask questions, and then I can mark them read and addressed. So just dump your questions in there as I go. I'm going to put about 5 to 10 minutes at the end to answer as many of those as possible, and maybe some of them will get answered as we go throughout. And then, of course, everybody's going to remain on mute for the duration of the webinar. We'll take the questions through the Q&A. And, of course, we're always happy to have follow-on conversations. At the end of it, you'll see my email. I was the one that sent you the invite, personally for this particular thing, so you can always reach out to me in reply to the emails that presented you this opportunity to join this webinar. We're going to, again, I kind of introduced Solink. I'm going to push that back a bit as far as a little bit more detail, because I think seeing is believing, and you'll look at this beautiful product that we have that is used by thousands and thousands of companies all over the world to better manage their business operations from a retail and restaurant perspective, as well as banks and financial institutions. What I want to focus on at the start is the current situation, right? How have companies adjusted? We're not just watching the market and talking with our partners and talking with experts and our friends at companies like nsf.org and companies like that, which I know there's some participants on. So, hey, folks, how have companies adjusted to this? Our customers have been adjusting. It feels like almost week to week, day to day sometimes, based on what other companies are doing. So we're going to try to consolidate that into the core things that we've seen. What are the new risks that that introduces? And then, there was some interesting data as I was researching for this around how your staff is feeling. And I'm sure that it's crazy right now, and there's lots going on and lots of adjustment and all this stuff. For me and our business, our teams, our staff, and how they're feeling is a really core component. Mental health is important, all that stuff. There's fears and all those things. We'll talk about some of the interesting research that I saw from Business Insider and others that sort of consolidates the general feeling that a lot of staff that are on the front line serving the public have. There's some FDA best practices, almost like a framework to think through with four key pillars that we'll look at. And then I'm going to show, some examples from the platform that we offer, go into our product and show some of how our customers are using Solink to manage this process here. And then of course, Q&A. There's an adjustment, no doubt, for pretty much everybody, everywhere in the world. There are very few, if not any, companies that have had, business as usual. It really is business as unusual. And so what we see especially from restaurant and with retail, we're going to see deliveries and stuff like that. But I think things like curbside pickup, delivery, are universal. Of course, in quick service space, drive-thru is huge. It's one of the best ways for us to stay open and operational and really serve the public, especially the public that needs it the most, that are at the front lines and supporting the overall world, the community, from the healthcare providers to anybody that touches the front line of this pandemic. And then, how are companies adjusting to essential services? So I think the essential services is really interesting. In fact, just now, my wife came back from picking up a pseudo grocery, fresh, bread and produce from one of our favorite local restaurants here in Ottawa, a place called Oko Kitchen that we love. And they've converted to basically a grocery store in a sense for all the fresh food. They have the ability to buy, bring it in, and they're allowing for a grocery order online and a pickup. They did that in short order. Within 2 weeks, they went from a very busy, very kind of hot up and coming local restaurant to now serving the public from a grocery perspective. So converting to become a form of essential service, even beyond when you're a full service restaurant with staff that waits on tables and all that stuff, to be able to convert to that is a great way to keep business running, but also serve the public. I think we've all, either you had drive-through or you didn't. If you have drive-through, of course, there's big adjustments in the drive-through. It's not business as usual. And there are components there such as how many people you can have working a drive-through when now it's increasingly busy compared to what it was before. Very challenging to deal with. And there's a lot of area of risk in there that I'll center on when we're looking at the live product a little bit. And then of course, contactless options and delivery and pickup, they still come with their risks. We talk to companies that are in metro areas, that are in downtown cores and stuff like that. Curbside pickup on a busy street or on a one-way street or anything like that creates a new challenge. And then you have staff coming and going in and out of the building. You have people interacting with vehicles. I also, trying to support as many businesses as I can. I got a new faucet for my sink at Home Depot. We had to go pick it up. I had to wipe the top of my trunk because the person closed our trunk, right? And that adjustment, both by the public, the consumers, and of course your teams. These adjustments are great. They're allowing business to keep going, services to remain essential, all that stuff. But they come with new risks that we would normally never think of. Again, somebody touching a trunk of a car. And then me touching the trunk of a car becomes potentially life and death when I have, myself here again to keep it personal, people over 60 living in the house with some medical issues. So these risks become obviously not just important to mitigate, but the impact of what happens if the risky scenario becomes a real scenario can be the difference between staying open and having to close. We've seen this, again, if I even just look at Ottawa, Canada here, grocery stores with people who have been tested positive, fast food locations, quick service restaurants that have had people tested positive, pharmacies, just in my city. And I think that's happening in a lot of places. The close time, even for a few days, to disinfect the building or do a deep scrub or switch over staff or anything like that, very disruptive, very costly. So let's avoid the contamination. Let's avoid the actual transfer of the virus, especially when not everybody knows whether they have it or not, or can be asymptomatic. So to the staff, the risks are they're interacting with the public. We can't yet easily screen people for, the virus when they come to our business, either in a drive-through, at a curbside, or anything like that. We could potentially test our staff for fever, and I know a lot of companies are doing that as well, to actually get, just a quick test to see if somebody has a fever, is just a way before you enter the building to start your shift. That's a process to go through. I think that's a good practice, but again, it still means that I'm going to interact with the public thereafter. So I'm protecting me from delivering it out, but I'm not necessarily protected from getting it inside the building. Again, it's unfortunate. We live in a world with a mixture of types of people. It's hard to, listen to the government, stay home, and all this stuff. But it's a problem at the front line when everybody's a little bit stressed. World's been turned upside down, and then ultimately, what can happen is people will lose their cool, potentially wait in line too long at a drive-through, and then all of a sudden they're disrespectful or rude or frankly, dangerous to our employees. There's a viral video a couple weeks ago of somebody coughing on a credit payment machine and handing it back to somebody because they had left the window. I mean, these things we hope obviously don't happen, and they're probably very rare. But the fact that that type of thing can happen is very dangerous for everybody involved, and something you want to watch for, or at least be able to action, right? If that's going to happen, I want that car, that person, that video identified and in the police's hands right away, because it's assault, right? And it's ultimately a chargeable offense. To the operations side of things, to most of who's on the phone today, I've got a decrease in productivity potentially, right? I got new policies. I got less staff on site. I've had to lay off some staff. I've got a decrease of productivity. I've got process modifications all over the place. I got tape on my floor to keep people apart. How do I monitor that? How do I ensure that the tape is doing anything to keep people separated, so they know what 6 meters or 2 feet, 6 feet or 2 meters apart looks like, and those types of things. In Canada, we sort of use the idea of a hockey stick, but we have tape on the floor to make sure that they see what that distance looks like. And ultimately, what we've observed in some of our viewing of video footage is the tape might as well not even be there, right? It's once it's there for the first day, it's aware, and then it just becomes part of the fixture. And of course, loss of staff. If staff get sick, if they quit because it's not worth it, in some cases, right, depending on what your minimum wage is and stuff like that, they may look at going on EI as more beneficial. They may quit to protect a family member that they live with. You can lose staff for any number of reasons here, or you've been forced to reduce your operations and have had to lay off staff. So anything that you've invested in to hire, train, and then maintain and retain those particular employees, if that goes out the door really quickly because somebody feels unsafe and you could have had some control over that, that's obviously the things we want to mitigate. Some stuff you're not going to have control over, and we can only really take care of what we control. And Solink will help you give you some of that control, even from your living room or an office like I'm in here. There's some interesting, I put the link right in there from Business Insider. It actually goes through a lot more detail with quotes and examples, but the summary of it from that and some other research we did, I thought that was the best overall article about quick service workers from Business Insider there, but they generally don't feel safe. A plexiglass can do a lot of things, but I'm still passing back and forth things underneath. I had an experience with that at a local gas station last night, and passing product back and forth through the glass. The disrespect by customers, again, it's really tough to be on the serving the public in any way, shape, or form, because you're going to get some bad apples, of course. When people are stressed or they've lost their job and it took too long to get their coffee or their burger or whatever it might be, there's a disrespect potentially coming. And then other times there's the too much love. I saw a handshake through a drive-through window, to thank somebody for working and helping and making sure somebody got their burger. Problem with that handshake is obvious, right? Just the concerns where we're still accepting cash, and a lot of you have eliminated cash, but most of you, because of your client base, require cash to be still a currency that we can use to get the food, because a lot of people that work in certain industries are carrying cash and don't have a credit card, or they're too young or anything like that. So handling cash, but handling cards too, right? It's so fast to hand your credit card to somebody so they can swipe it versus just swiping it yourself. You see it all the time, especially in the restaurant space, where I'll do this for you and then hand you the device. Same thing, right? Any concerns that they have, it's the main interaction they're having. Even if you can get contactless with the food, if the payment isn't contactless, that can be an issue. So we're going to see an increase in online ordering and then pick up, and just getting rid of that payment at the actual window or at the till or anything like that. But there's still a concern because we're not there yet for a lot of places, and the investment to get there could be hard for people. And then of course, job security. There's probably not a person in the world, even an owner of a business, is feeling the pinch of potential job security. It's an unknown world, recession looming and things like that, or actively happening. If I'm concerned for my job and I'm concerned for taking sick time, are my benefits going to be there? Am I going to get fired? I'm probably going to hide how I'm feeling. And so to be able to observe our employees and whether they're coughing, whether they look all right, they look fatigued, are they leaning on the counter, having those eyes, your camera's acting as the eyes to witness that and check in on their well-being. You don't have to watch a lot of video to do it. You can kind of pinpoint with a product like Solink to get into that. But that's another area where people will hide how they're feeling for fear of losing their job, because they might need that income to pay the rent for the family member who's lost their job, kind of thing. And there's a lot of different scenarios there. I put a link in here from the FDA as well. I thought that this was sort of just a clean way. I think there's some posters and images you can put up, but be healthy, be clean, right? Clean and disinfect, social distance, pick up and delivery as far as operational versus employee focus. It's almost become cliche to say wash your hands, which is unfortunate. What I've observed as a best practice is anytime there is a potential risk of transfer, I touch a credit card or I've grabbed cash, I've seen employees, and we'll look at some of this in a second live in the product, go wash their hands right away, put on a new pair of gloves. Kelsey and I were talking about an experience she had at a gas station the other night. Same thing, interacted with something, took off my gloves, threw them out, disinfected, put new gloves on. That comes with a cost, but again, the cost could be worth it when it comes to, being healthy and being clean. Of course, our cleaning operations in these environments have always been top of mind. They get audited by brands and audited by the city. You should be doing best practices there. But just doing more of it, having a plan in place, seeing whether that's been completed or not. If there's a specific time it's supposed to happen or a specific process, being able to, again, remote in, use your cameras, witness those things, identify key areas that need to be cleaned and see whether they're being cleaned. Very, very important. And then of course, managing anything from the distance of employees, the number of employees in a store, the number of people out in the area, in the parking lot, or people congregating in your parking lot, and does that pose you a risk to closing your business? There's a lot of stuff in these sort of pickup, delivery, and social distancing aspect. That link has a lot more detail. I didn't want to go into too deep into it, but I thought it was just a great summary of the 4 main areas you should really be thinking about. I took a still that I looked at as far as, managing a few of these things, right? So, staff potentially doesn't know what to do. They could be waiting for online orders or whatever. But when I look at, used gloves and water bottles sitting right beside each other, when I think of staff, personal hygiene, the delivery, being ready to go potentially, but also sitting on the floor maybe too long. We think of it for touching food or anything like that, spoilage, temperature control, all that stuff. Of course, employee mental health is important. They should be, reading and meditating and taking care of things. But anything to deal with them now sitting on a fixture, as this example, potentially causes them a risk if they come off and sprain their ankle, or if they fall back the other way and hit their head. It's just unusual, right? And they don't always know what to do. So just being able to monitor for this type of stuff, which may be perfectly fine if they're on break and they've been working hard, but it may also pose a lot of risk. And this one image, I thought, like a single still, where I also have inventory sitting on the floor that could be putting on the shelves for the pickers to get for the curbside pickup, versus, break time. Again, all these little areas, and I thought it was a single screenshot almost of all the different things at play in one view, and how important your cameras can be and how much they actually let you see. So I'm going to transition a little bit here. I'm going to go into the Solink platform. I'm going to just check my own time here because I know I'm talking too much, which is fine. Hopefully it's resonating with some of you. But Solink, again, is a platform. It's a software. We would go into your existing environment, work with your existing cameras. Majority of cameras in the market are going to be compatible, and implement this to basically add to your existing surveillance system and then integrate it with your existing point of sale data. That's the primary use for the majority of our customers, is the data that touches the transactions, the revenue, mixed with the video that either supports that or, of course, monitors that, as well as, of course, monitoring the building from a security and safety perspective. What I'm looking at is my dashboard. I'm not going to spend too much time here. We can, of course, go through what this means, but all it does here is show me that I'm comparing my revenues. I'm potentially watching the impacts, the potential loss of revenue. If I start to see things creep back up, I may want to think about how my staff works. If I'm looking at number of transactions and a dip off or anything like that, what happened? Did somebody leave late? Did we close early? Or anything like that that might show me a trend in a comparison, because the two colors here represent a previous time period and the current time period. And then of course I have, as a good example here, a camera grouping of all my external drive-through cameras. But I'm gonna hold on that and show you one thing that I've observed in a quick service environment here with a drive-through. I talked about handling cash and credit cards. So that's the first thing I would look for. If I had Solink, I have access to how people paid, all of the product, the drive-through at the tills if they're at all open, online ordering, mobile ordering, all that stuff. I have all that data in here, and then I have all the video of my building paired up perfectly with each transaction. So from the time somebody orders something at the drive-through to the time that check is closed at the window, I have that video perfectly paired with that transaction. In some cases, like I have in this particular environment, I've also got drive-through timer data that I can look for. But the first thing I want to look for as a search is paid cash. Right? If I just put the word cash, I'll get cashier, but I can see every single ticket that paid cash, and I can kind of scan through here, or I could further this by looking for certain amounts of cash, right? I could say, I want to see where the total amount is maybe greater than $10 and narrow this down further. And of course, very easy to then go in here and see something that might cause concern, or just, browse through what are stills or screenshots, or I can hover over and watch the video at multiple camera angles associated with this one thing. And I can kind of scan through. I can isolate to a single location like I have here, go right into that location and identify where I've had a bit of a cluster of employees there, so I want to go in and take a look at it. Now, the still was from the shot, that would have ended this ticket. So I've gone to the beginning. I have a staff, right, that did the right thing there already. If you're going to cough or sneeze into your elbow and the inside of your elbow, I've got gloves on. I've got a contactless tray here. There's a lot of things going on in this environment. The things that concern me, again, proximity of staff, right? This particular location actually has removed tape from the ground, again, to that point that the tape doesn't necessarily work after a couple days. And I have personal cell phones being available, which could be a problem from a productivity perspective, but they're also a carrier of various things. So any interactions, close interactions like we're having here, can be an issue. So I've got this entire transaction set up here to look at in a filtered view of that particular transaction. I have it on the right. I see a change of gloves. I see good practice here. I've got a couple of examples where you're not going to see that, and I'll use a sort of a two-step process to demonstrate that. I see an employee right now washing hands, taking off gloves. I see another employee who hasn't interacted with any cash or money, handling the product. The product's going to end up in a contactless tray. The customer is going to take it from the tray without touching the tray. These are all good practices. So I might, congratulate or show the rest of my team what right looks like. Solink from a video perspective and having the data and all this stuff, it's used very much to catch theft and loss prevention and all these things, but really this is an operational business tool. I can use this for anything like what you're going to see me do here now around health and safety, right? So I might add a couple of different camera angles, maybe a wide shot, maybe the external drive-through if I want, just to show my staff, give it a title of, this is what right looks like, congratulations, Kelsey, right? To bring Kelsey back into the mix here as part of the webinar. Put in some notes, look like Kelsey washed her hands, you changed her gloves, you were following process, congratulations, this is great. I've randomly picked you for a gift card, which then, again, teaches everybody that good behavior gets rewarded versus bad behavior getting reprimanded. And I can email that potentially to my whole staff. I can email that to my peers and say, this is what we're doing. Hope it helps you do it too. If an incident happens, like somebody coughing on one of our employees, I could email that to the police in this sort of bad scenario where I want to take immediate action to catch somebody while they're still in their car and have the police have the video of that car, what they did, the proof point to it to be able to press charges. But in this case, it's a good scenario. I'm going to hit save. I'm not going to do this right now for time purposes. I'll show you what the end result looks like with a different example. I'm kind of the, against best practices, but I saw some really great things and I wanted to reward or, notify my team that, this is the right way to do it. She did the right thing. She realized she contacted something and washed her hands. When I save those clips, they end up in my clips folder inside of Solink, which I can then make everything I've done searchable. And all these notes then, like I said, they become searchable. But I'm gonna particularly grab this one because I wanna show what happens after you save a clip. This is a clip that has a bit of a different story. Cash drawer being open, cash gets handled a little bit, and you'll see it about, middle of the transaction here, probably about here, where is also handling products. So this particular employee goes from taking in cash, giving change, to handling product, putting it in the contactless tray, putting the tray at the window, and effectively making the tray irrelevant, touching the screen, and then potentially not washing hands. So this might be not ideal. It might be against process, and I want to be able to remind that person and their manager. The manager could be the one watching. Solink offers remote access via web or mobile to anybody in your environment with different roles and different permissions of what they can do, what they can see, whether they see revenue or data or not, or just video or certain cameras. Lots of good permission stuff. But there you see cash handling and you see product handling along with that. It's a risky behavior. Same idea. I could save the clip. But what happens when I save the clip is the person on the other end of that save can actually get a YouTube-like video of that with download capability. So again, if this is something I wanted to send to my staff, they don't have to have access to all the video, to the entire surveillance system, to all of our revenue or anything like that. They can just get a clip of the video, nice clear picture, optimized for performance and remote viewing, to be able to go in here and actually see, where the error is. And the error here is handling cash, handling product, putting it in a contactless tray. The customer's only seeing what they're seeing from their window, which looks fine to them. Contactless tray, you didn't touch my product after you touched my money. Again, we see sort of the difference there. So a couple great examples there of how to use that. A next feature I'm going to show you, just as far as looking at these things and handling customers from, working with our employees and handling customers, dealing with drive-thrus and these types of things. And my, internet at the home here is, of course, having fun with me as my kids try to play online and go to school online and all that stuff. I have all my cameras for all my locations in a single platform. I've got my recently viewed. I could have favorite cameras. I think really right now, the real benefit is I have camera groups. So we'll let them load. I'm actually going to hide my video because I think it is my internet that is causing some of the issue here. So I'm going to stop my video for a second. Here I have across multiple locations, but 12 locations here, I have all my drive-through internal views, right? And I can quickly see all these snapshots. I could click on it, look live. I could hover over it like we've seen and start to play it. I also have all my external drive-throughs visible to me here. So I can sort of, again, monitor what happened recently from a screenshot, hover over, or do something specific like click into a video and start to see when people are hitting my area. And there's a little bit of sun glare at this particular time. So I'm going to move a bit ahead. I'm going to move my own controls here to move a bit ahead. So I'm going to move a bit ahead to, let's say, 5 p.m. What Solink does is we stream the video. So bandwidth concerns or anything like that, streaming the video allows me to bounce from 7 a.m. to almost 5 p.m. in a blink of a second. But what I want to do here is show a really advanced feature called motion search, where I can draw on the screen and start to observe, maybe spot audit the drive-through process. And one of the things I found when I was doing this for a client the other day was that I have non-cars in my drive-through. Right? And I know I'm really focused on drive-through, but hopefully you can see how this can work for anything curbside pickup, anything from a delivery perspective. The Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes guys showing up to grab the food. Same concepts apply. Where's the exchange? What's happening? And what drawing on the screen does is it allows me to, kind of click through almost like a playlist of each transaction, each car. And one of the things I found in doing this and looking at went from a scenario of the spot audit using groups of cameras to looking at a still to seeing a person not in a car on a skateboard effectively at the drive-through window. And that caused me a little bit of pause and concern because now I have potential liability of people without a car using the drive-through to get access to their coffee, their burger, whatever it might be, their pizza, etc. And that poses a risk between having cars and pedestrians in the same place. So I use the same concept and being able to click through. You can see I have no cars after a period of time right here. And then I can jump ahead and see each truck. It's a great way to sort of spot audit what's happening, what are the types of vehicles, and they're, without waiting too long. I didn't have to search too long. Again, I haven't even prepped this one. I prepped a different one. I've got a pedestrian right in my drive-through lane. somebody's not paying attention, reaching down to grab their purse, and this person ends up in the hospital, which is not a place you want to end up these days at all, really. That could be very risky. That could also be a lawsuit. I might have signs posted, etc., but if I'm not protecting for this stuff, so telling my staff that this happens, same method, same action, same ease, save the clip. Staff, if somebody shows up to the drive-thru and they're pedestrian, ask them to stand on the sidewalk until you're ready, wave them forward when you can see on your cameras inside that there isn't a car about to hit them. Whatever process you can put in to protect the public and protect your staff, these are sort of those two areas or two sides of the coin that I wanted to show today. I didn't even need to go to my saved clip because I had a pedestrian show up in the lane here without even really realizing that that's what I was about to click into in sort of that skipping through on motion here. So I'm going to pause. There's so much more we can show from a Solink perspective, but hopefully it gave everybody a little bit of a view into a couple of the areas you may or may not be thinking about and what remote access to your environment with optimized bandwidth controls for streaming like this. These locations don't have the best internet in the world. I can still stream very quickly from my home, from my internet with my kids using it, on my mobile device, which we can always show you. And again, see something like this that could potentially be causing a risk to my business. So I'm going to pause there. I'm going to go look at the questions. I know we've gone over, but I think it's an important topic and I'm okay with it if Kelsey's okay with it. And I don't see questions in there, but I'm going to look at the chat and don't see actually any questions. So I think one of the questions that that often come up in these environments is, how do I get started with Solink, right? So of course, reaching out to us. If you've got on this webinar, you have at least an email somewhere from Solink, reply back. Of course, visit our website. There's lots of different resources on solink.com that I'll just visit here right now. If anything from our specific COVID-19 resources page, customer success stories, of course, and you can get a hold of us, look at other webinars. I'd highly recommend a couple other webinars that our friends at NSF did with us recently around protecting the business during pandemic. Lots of good research, very intelligent people that have gone through a lot of schooling and pay very close attention to this from a general health and safety perspective. A couple of these great ones in here. Check those out. Also reach out to us. Our team is ready to help you look at your camera compatibility, work with your POS system, make sure we understand what you have in place, how easy it is to get in Solink into your environment. We are deploying. The deployments can happen, again, generally with limited staff and no customers in the building. It's actually a good time to deploy new technology. And the way we structure our costs and stuff like that can be reviewed by our team. The idea here is that there's a very low lift, low cost, and low risk ability to get Solink added to your existing environment and put the power of what we looked at here right in your pocket as far as your mobile device. I got a couple questions. I am going to go long here and I'll take the heat for it. One of the questions here, how effectively does it work at night? Maybe more businesses will have drive-through at later hours, meaning less natural light. It's a really good question, Leo, and thank you for it. I mean, you can get a little later into the night here and we'll start to see, generally, depending on your environment, you have a couple of different benefits here. Good lighting, like we can see here. So I'm a little bit later at night. I could maybe go closer to 10 p.m. I don't actually know the operating hours here. But you can kind of see I get some natural light. There might be other cameras that get less light in that same timeline. Maybe if I look at a wider shot of a parking lot or something like that at that same timeline. What you're seeing me now, I just bounced from one location to another, looking at two different cameras because I'm still in all my external cameras. Again, pretty lit up in this environment. If it's not, generally most cameras, most modern cameras that you're going to have sort of an infrared, right? So the black and white would still show up. Our ability to motion search is looking at changes in pixelation, not the gradual change from day to night, right? But dramatic changes, right? So if the pixelation is changing dramatically, it's a human or a car, something going through it. And of course, we're doing some innovative, future announcements around tracking for cars and people and those types of things as well. And again, light hasn't been an issue, but it's a really good question. I think I got one more and I got a second one here. How long does it typically take to implement for customers that don't use Solink from an anonymous attendee? Thank you for that. You're generally looking at, from the time you sign the contract with us, about 3 to 4 weeks. We are seeing some ability to get it done faster, but in reality, 3 to 4 weeks is sort of our standard. We order a piece of equipment that goes onto the location, connects to your existing cameras. Depending on your point of sale system, we have well over, I think, 70 or so different point of sale systems that we integrate with today. So if we already have your point of sale system in, great. Generally going to be quick to get the data up as well. If not, sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But again, that's sort of 3 to 4 weeks for full implementation, and then you could look at maybe 6 weeks, depending on the data, to get it fully operational, onboarded, and fully configured. So it's good to definitely get started as fast as possible. And if there's a rush or anything like that, talk to our sales team about that. We're here to serve you. We're here to empathize and understand your situation and urgencies. We'll do everything we can to get it in as fast as possible. I'm gonna actually keep answering questions because we're getting some good ones here. Does Solink work within grocery? I'd assume the challenges in this particular area are different. Still able to be monitored by Solink. Thanks for that, Jeff. The answer is of course, right? Basically anywhere where you have video cameras, we can generally implement. It's not I show one environment because of the time in the demo here. You can see how fast we can lose time. But basically anywhere where there's cameras, we can connect to. We can do a video only kind of environment, but of course, most places have some form of data, again, access control, alarm data, other point of sales, online ordering. We have a customer who does all warehouse. There's no storefront. It's all online ordering, but we can get those transactions there. So yes, there's no real specific type of industry that we can't serve because we are a universal security and surveillance product. And then the secret sauce for us comes down to the ease of use. Things like motion search, saving clips, sharing clips, searching data, very universal. Kara asks, now that I have, we've installed plexiglass at the drive-thru window, I have glare from my camera angle at the window. Any recommendations to improve visibility? It's a great question, Kara, and I appreciate it. I think those things, those little adjustments can happen, and I think the glare is something we can look at with you. There's different things we can do on the back end to change the threshold of sensitivity as far as motion is concerned, and the motion search and stuff like that we've done. We also, of course, offer motion alerts, right, where we can select a region of interest. As any of you that have been in the security industry probably recognize, this is a region where I want to know when motion happens here. And Solink is on the cusp of releasing, especially to our customers, some new functionality around the alerting here. And so some playing with threshold may help when there's glare and I'm actually talking to the camera without my video on, for Kara there. If there's glare, there's a couple different things. Adjustment of the camera would be the final thing we would try, but playing with some of the thresholds, if it's not visible, we may have to look at the camera, or a quick tilt of the plexiglass, even by an inch or so, could change that glare. So reach out to your main Solink person on our team. One of our team members would be happy to help you figure that out. Sales team, or of course go to support@solink.com, or in-app chat. Our support team is the best in the business. That's not me saying that. That's what our customers tell us. So the number one reason people recommend us to others is our ability to support customers. In-app chat, 24/7, 365, included in the base price of Solink. I'm going to check my chat to get in trouble by Kelsey for going too long here. And I think we're good on questions, so that's great. So look for announcements from Solink on, again, using motion alerts to create a form of alarm and having a different sort of world there to supplement your existing alarm system to identify motion after hours, changed hours, reduced hours, the ability to flexibly move around and not just have sort of an arm and disarm, but have an arm and disarm leveraging video. You'll see that in the coming, for customers in the coming days. For non-customers, you'll see it more publicly announced in the coming week or so. Of course, looking at cars and looking at people as objects. More to come from that as a little preview of what Solink has to come. Again, I'll take the heat on spilling the beans a little bit early. And of course, your support team and your Solink sales team, whether you're a customer or not customer, we're here to help. We're fully enabled, we're fully ready, fully staffed, working from home, but very able to serve you. I appreciate everybody's time today and letting me go about 9 minutes over. There's a lot of good going on in the world, and we want to spread it as much as possible, but the bad, we want to mitigate, eliminate, and get rid of those risks. And remote ability to look at your location, monitor it from your living room using our Apple TV app as another pitch here, to go in and look at your cameras in groups, by camera group across all your locations, hopefully helps you save your business, and then build your business back up as the world comes back to normal. Turn a bigger profit, get a major ROI of your existing investments in alarm and in your video cameras and in your point of sale system. And that's our goal, is to make you more money in your pocket so that you can keep growing your business and growing your empire for you, your family, or for your stakeholders if you're a bigger company with shareholders. Appreciate the time, Kelsey. I think we're good. We'll let everybody get on with their day, and of course, we'll make this available for remote viewing thereafter. Awesome. Thanks for confirming, Kelsey. We'll wish you all a safe and happy day. Hopefully the weather, keeps turning sunny, and we'll talk soon. Please reach out. We're here to help.